I just move over.
From Westfield, New Jersey, Dan Strafford. And from Montclair, New Jersey, Mike Goldstein. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we will start with you, Dan.
Sure.
Your favorite sports movie of all time? And
Field of Dreams.
how come?
It's the ultimate baseball movie, and there's no movie out there that I watch that I can watch over and over again, and no matter what, I cry at the end. I mean, when he says, "Hey, Dad, you want to have a catch?" I'm done. I'm done for. But the history in it, the absolute moment when the characters start coming from the cornfields, and you have that connection between history and today. I think it's just absolutely amazing what they can do with that movie and how it really tells a story of both a kid and an adult loving the game.
Mike and you? Same question.
Bang the Drum Slowly. I like watching Dan Aiello play first base. It's actually a wonderful movie if you haven't seen it. Robert De Niro is the catcher and has terminal cancer. Mike Moriarty, the pitcher. Very touching sports movie.
All right, let me ask both of you this. If you could spend 1 hour with any athlete, past or present, who would it be, Mike?
Muhammad Ali. Back when I was growing up, he had the audacity to tell his opponents that he was going to kick their ass, and not only tell them when he was going to tell them that he was going to kick their ass, but tell them when he was going to do so. The athletes didn't behave in the manner in which he did back in the 60s and 70s. He was sort of our Generation X type of guy back then, so it would clearly be Muhammad Ali.
Dancing.
I would have to say Don Mattingly. Donnie Baseball was my hero growing up, and he was the one who really made me love the Yankees that much more because he just played the game right. And as I continue to watch him manage the Dodgers and really have grown up in baseball and loving baseball, he's one of the key reasons why.
Your first sports memory, Dan Strafford.
Mine's not a happy one, I must say. I went to a Mets game, and I don't even remember when, but it's the first memory I have at a live sporting event of sitting somewhere in the stadium with my oldest brother and my father, and Delino DeShields fouling a ball off. You hear the thud after the ball hit what we thought was the facade of the second deck, but it actually hit a young boy in the front row. I don't remember what the final score of the game was. I don't remember who pitched besides that Delino DeShields was up when it happened, but that was by far 5 years old, maybe 6 years old, and I'll never forget that day.
We haven't had that before. Anybody else can Delino.
My first memory is really memories of going to Yankee Stadium, not to watch the Yankees play, but to watch the Giants play. The Giants were an awful team back in the late 60s, and I used to it was a once-a-week ordeal, and it had a more meaningful end to the game than most Yankee games did back then. And I'll tell you something, the 1970 New York Football Giants season is one of the more interesting seasons in the history of their franchise. They started off 0-3, and then ended up at one point they were 9-4 and 1 game away from making the postseason and lost to the Los Angeles Rams on the final day of the season, but they had an incredible season.
All right, if either of you could play a professional sport, Dan, we'll start with you. Which sport would it be and why?
It'd be baseball. I mean, I've loved the sport since I can't even remember. I play second base because I don't have a strong arm, and I hate trying to turn two from the shortstop hole. But it would definitely be baseball, and it'd be something that would be, besides this, obviously, a dream come true.
Golf. I love individual sports. Tennis or golf, but golf since that's what I do now.
All right, let's get going. Dan, you're up first. Clock is right there. You've got 2 minutes. Go for it.
Dan Strafford, Sports Radio 66, WFAN. Plenty to get to. In the next 2 hours, we'll talk about the Coliseum referendum. We'll talk about the free agent target for the Jets going forward and whether or not O.C. Umenyiora will get traded. But first, let's talk about the question marks surrounding the New York Yankees. Brian Cashman, first time since 2002 that he did not make a trade within a week of the non-waiver trade deadline. And let's be honest, folks, the Yankees are a good team and they'll make the playoffs, but they do not have the horses as currently constituted to make it to the World Series and win it. It's just a matter of fact right now. CC Sabathia is one of the best in the game, but beyond him, who are you going to trust? You're going to trust the roller coaster ride that is A.J. Burnett or the Bartolo Colon, Freddie Garcia tandem, where I think if you ask most Yankee fans, they're going to say it's when, not if, they turn back into a pumpkin. And then there's Phil Hughes, who starts tonight for the Yankees. Tonight's a big, big start for the former future of the Yankees. Hughes has had his ups, had his downs, and he really needs to have a big start tonight to make things come through for the Bronx Bombers. If he doesn't, Hughes has to go to the bullpen. You have to move Nova into the number 5 spot moving forward. And to the point that so many people want to talk about whether Derek Jeter or Brett Gardner should be batting leadoff. Brett Gardner, batting in the first inning, is batting 188. Brett Gardner, first in the lineup, is batting 215. The guy may be electric when he gets on the base pass, and he may be a lot of fun to watch, but he is not the Yankees' leadoff hitter right now. Derek Jeter on the other side, batting first in the lineup, 273. First inning, the captain batting 329. It's not even a debate anymore, folks. Derek Jeter needs to lead off for this team, and they need some help in the rotation, hopefully from the minor leagues as they move forward. 877-337-6666. Let's hear from you, New York City.
All right, if you were the Yankees general manager, Brian Cashman, would you have made a deal before the non-waiver deadline?
I think they needed somebody, and I know the trade market was thin. I know they wanted the world for Jimenez. I know that the Houston Astros wanted a lot for Wandy Rodriguez, but they needed something. They needed depth right now. They needed a plan B or C or D when A.J. Burnett decides to go out and pitch just 2 innings and give up 7 runs. They needed somebody they could trust just a little bit more.
Well, let's turn to football. Starting to hear from Giant fans that are a little panic-stricken on what's going on with the Giants since the lockout ended. What are your thoughts on how they've been so far?
The Giants haven't done much, and for New York fans, they want action. They want, signings. They want trades. They want big names. That's not Jerry Reese, and that's not Tom Coughlin. The thing I fear for the Giants right now is the fact that their offensive line is going to be brand new this year. Letting go O'Hara, letting go Siebert, those are 2 key comps. Fine, they were getting old and maybe their days were done, but all of a sudden you have a brand new offensive line and Eli Manning may be on his back a little bit more than he's upright.
All right, as far as the NBA lockout, whose side are you on?
That's tough. They're all millionaires or billionaires, so it's tough as a fan to really root for either of them. I do think there have been enough points made by the owners of the small market teams that they're losing money on a year-to-year basis. But I think as a fan and as a person who watches the NBA from a little bit from afar, I'm a Knicks fan for the most part, but it's tough to ever side with the billionaires when there are people making less money than them. I have to sign with the players.
All right, Dan, thank you very much. Mike, you see the clock?
As Jimmy Johnson used to say, how about that Roger Clemens? A mistrial for the king of misremembering. You remember Andy Pettit, Clemens' best friend, self-professed brother? Clemens claims Pettit misremembered when they spoke of HGH. Then he claimed to Congress that he did not, let me repeat, he did not take any performance-enhancing drugs. Baseball's version of Bill Clinton telling us that he did not have sex with that woman. But speaking of misremembering, who could ever misremember Game 2 of the 2000 Subway Series when he picked up the fat part of a sawed-off bat and threw it at Mike Piazza, then thumped on his chest and intimidated Piazza into walking meekly back towards home plate? And I will never misremember Game 7 of the 0-1 Series when he outdueled Curt Schilling in the Arizona Heat, handing the ball off to Mariano for what should have been the Yankees' 4th consecutive World Series championship, only to have Mariano make one of the very few missteps of his otherwise brilliant career when he was on the wrong end of a risk-reward decision, throwing the ball and the championship out into center field. And how about the craziness of the 0-3 ALCS up in Fenway Park, when a high inside fastball thrown by Clemens brought the juiced-up Manny Ramirez out towards the mound, bat in hand. Roger Clemens, testosterone, I guarantee, oozing from every pore in his body, held his ground as the mayhem ensued all around him. But folks, that was then and this is now. And Roger the Dodger, and I'm speaking of Roger Clemens, not Roger Staubach, has escaped jurisprudence. But what he can't run from is the highest court in all the land when it comes to baseball, the court of public opinion. And in that court, his baseball legacy has been forever tarnished, his integrity, his character forever impugned, for throwing anybody and everybody, including his best friend Andy Pettit, including his wife Debbie Clemens, under the bus. Roger Clemens, the king of misremember has gone from baseball's Hall of Fame to baseball's Hall of Shame.
Ty Cobb got into the Hall of Fame. He supposedly murdered someone way back in the 1910s or that era. Will you elect, if you're a voter, on his talent and the early part of his career, whatever it is, would you elect him?
100% yes. I don't have a problem with Roger Clemens taking steroids. I think he's part of the steroid era. I think you can't tell me how many did or didn't and quantify what it did or didn't do for you. What I have a problem with Roger Clemens is the way he handled it. Here's a guy that stuck his chest out, was macho his whole career, but when really push came to shove, he's the biggest chicken alive because he hid behind his wife, he turned in his best friend, he didn't handle it the way a man should handle it.
Do you think he'll get his Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Let's turn to football. A lot of action for the Jets. It's been sort of a back page story since the lockout ended. Give us 30 seconds on how the Jets have handled it.
Well, you know, what's to talk about? They've already, you know, the coach has already told us they're going to the Super Bowl. You know, and let me tell you something about Rex Ryan. When Rex Ryan gets a tattoo, it's not in vogue anymore. And for any of you young people, don't do it. The Jets have a nice team. They're going to be one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the AFC. The problem I have with the Jets is the characters on the team. From Antonio Cromartie to, well, Braylon Edwards is gone, but the new Braylon Edwards, Plaxico Burress, Antonio Holmes. I have trouble rooting for players that epitomize what's wrong in sports these days. And to me, there's too many of those players on the Jets.
Very good. Mike, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.